46 teams to go on my road to predict all 131 teams this college football offseason. And we're moving on to the first newcomer in the Sun Belt Conference. Yeah, that's right. The Old Dominion Monarchs, no longer a part of Conference USA and now part of the Sun Belt Conference. And this was an Old Dominion team last year that was in the gutter for most of the year, right? This was a team that started out 1-6 and looked like this was going to be another poor year for the Monarchs. But you know what? They got things together and they won their last 5 games. Ended up making a bowl game this year. But with joining a new conference comes its challenges and comes its adjustments. So will Old Dominion be able to get back to a bowl game in their brand new conference, or will Old Dominion struggle in the Sun Belt in 2022? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 131 teams this college football offseason, which means I'm doing your favorite team. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, so you know when that video gets uploaded if it hasn't already. I know we're getting down to the wire on these predictions, but if you are an Old Dominion fan in this video, you guys are going to know this team a lot better than I do. So if you feel like I missed something and you want to add something, leave it in the comment section down below, and I'll be happy to hear what you guys have to say. So let's talk about Old Dominion in 2022. This is my 11th ranked team in the Sun Belt Conference coming into the 2022 college football season. Again, I already talked about what they did last year. They were 1-6 to start out. Didn't look like they were really going to have anything to play for in the offseason. But you know what? They got their stuff together. They won their last 5 games, ended up making a bowl game. I believe ended up playing Tulsa, which they did lose. But hey, good things coming for this Old Dominion team. Maybe that was a step in the right direction. Although, if they want to make a bowl game this year, and we'll look at their schedule a little bit, maybe shouldn't start out 1-6. And again, we'll look at the schedule a little bit. But stats for this Old Dominion team as they were a part of Conference USA last year, pretty even on both sides of the ball. 375 yards per game with around 27.5 points per game offensively, and defensively much similar, 372 yards per game with the same points per game allowed on the defensive end, 27.6. So this was a very even, balanced team statistically a season ago, but again, they really got hot as the season went along last year. Taking a look at some of the talent that this team is losing from a year ago, their returning production numbers aren't great, but honestly, I couldn't find a lot of names to put on this list. So let's go ahead and go through the names that they are losing off this team, and maybe you Old Dominion fans can let me know some more of them in the comment section down below. But Darius Savage, you lose him out of the wide receiver position. Only 6 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown last year. Wasn't a superb statistical year for Darius Savage. And then Nigel Fitzgerald, same thing. 1 catch for 9 yards. That was the extent to his year. So you lose both of those guys out of the wide receiver position, but you do lose a pretty solid pass catcher in Stone Smart. Listed as a quarterback, played a lot of tight end, had 17 catches, 167 yards. No touchdowns for him, but was still a solid option there for this team. Defensively, though, this is where you lose some guys. Sequoia McDuffie is gone off this team, had 27 tackles, 3 sacks a season ago. Corey Jackson is also gone. He had 31 tackles and 2 sacks a season ago. You lose Jordan Young, who was your leading tackler last year with 93 tackles and 2 sacks there as well. When you go ahead and take a look at some other losses on the defensive back, you lose JoJo Hayden, who had 57 tackles, 5 passes defended, 2 interceptions a year ago. And then Roger Cray, who led the team by far with 12 passes defended and a pick is in there as well. So you're definitely losing some guys on the defensive end. Offensively, yeah, you lose some guys out of the pass catching room, but hey, this should still be a fairly solid wide receiver group. But you do have your 2 quarterbacks coming back this year. Hayden Wolf, who led the team with 1,933 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions a season ago. But you also have former UCF transfer DJ Daryl Mack, goes by DJ now, 859 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. So not really any great years for Old Dominion quarterbacks, although Hayden Wolf probably will end up being that starter again in 2022 moving into next season. When you look, the running back group, you keep them together. Blake Watson is coming back. He had 1,112 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. Elijah Davis, 576 yards and 6 touchdowns. And then John-Luke Peeker, who is not on this list, he also comes back at 184 yards and a touchdown last year for this team. DJ Mack, also the fourth leading rusher, I should say, on this team. He had 6 rushing touchdowns a season ago, so you return a lot of your offensive production in that regard, and wide receiver-wise as well. 1,000-yard receiver last year, Elite Jennings had 1,066 yards and 5 touchdowns. You have him coming back. A tight end in Zach Kuntz, who was your second leading receiver, had 692 yards and 5 touchdowns. But no one else had over 200 yards receiving last year. So guys like Isaiah Page, Javon Harvey, I believe Jordan Bly is coming back there as well. Jordan Bly coming back there as well. So this is definitely a wide receiver group that is returning a lot from a season ago. And when you look defensively, Amari Morrison coming back for this team, as well as Marcus Haynes. So you get those two guys coming back. Morrison with 4 sacks last year. Marcus Haynes with 4.5 sacks. I believe those were your 2 sack leaders on this team a season ago. Jason Henderson, back of the linebacker position, 78 tackles in the sack a season ago. You also get back Ryan Henry, the linebacker position there as well. And then in the defensive backs, a couple wide receivers turned defensive backs in Artarian Johnson and Terry Jones. So both of those guys played defensive back last year and were pretty solid. They were both top 10 tacklers on this team. You get both of them coming back, along with a pretty solid safety in Trey Hawkins there as well. So it's an Old Dominion team that's got a lot coming back. And if they can get hot and they can continue that streak into this year like they were last season, this can be an Old Dominion team that can push for a spot in a bowl game. However, when we take a look at this Old Dominion schedule, not going to be the easiest thing to do with the schedule that they have. Non-conference, I'm going to go ahead and say, Old Dominion fans, I don't think you're going to be favored in any non-conference game you play this year. You get Virginia Tech at home on a Friday to open up your season. Then you got to go on the road and play East Carolina. Then you got to go on the road and play Virginia. You play Arkansas State the next week, but then the week after, you get the home game against Liberty. And none of those games are going to be easy. Virginia Tech bringing in a new head coach. And yes, the game is not in Blacksburg, but in my opinion, Virginia Tech's still the more talented team than Old Dominion. East Carolina, you got to go on the road. Hey, Holton Ahlers is coming back. Keaton Mitchell is coming back. Lots of other talent on there. I know they lose that cornerback duo that was that defensive back duo that was so good for them a season ago. But this is still an East Carolina team that can be a surprise team in the American Athletic, I feel like. That's a solid Pirates team, and you got to go on the road to play them. Definitely not going to be easy. On the road to Virginia is not going to be easy either. They got a lot coming back there. And then Liberty. I know Malik Willis is not that starting quarterback, but you know who is? Charlie Brewer. And if he can put together a year like he did 2019 in Baylor, that's going to be a solid team in Liberty. When you look at the Sun Belt schedule, you got home games against, as mentioned, Arkansas State, but also Georgia Southern, newcomers, Marshall, and James Madison there as well. You got to go on the road to play Coastal Carolina, Georgia State, App State, and South Alabama there as well. So let's dive on into this Old Dominion schedule. So I've kind of talked about the non-conference games here a little bit, but honestly, I just don't think they're going to be favored at any one of them. I really don't. I think it'd be a shock to me if Old Dominion won any of them. In my opinion, the one that they probably have the best shot to win is that Liberty game. If Charlie Brewer cannot string things together, cannot fill in for Malik Willis, Liberty team that definitely is not going to be as good last season. Maybe might miss out on a bowl game, but I don't think so. I think this is the Liberty team that is still going to be pretty good with Charlie Brewer at the helm if he can have another season like he did in 2019. And when you look at the Sun Belt schedule, I mean, if this Old Dominion team starts off 1-6, which is a fairly solid possibility, there's no way they're going to be able to win their last 5 games. And when you look at the back half of the schedule, I mean, you got to go on the road to play Coastal Carolina, to play Georgia State, to play App State, and it doesn't get easier for your home schedule. You have Marshall, James Madison at home. Even going on the road to play South Alabama is going to be a tricky one there as well. It's an Old Dominion team that has probably one of the tougher schedules in the Sun Belt Conference this year. Yes, there's no Louisiana on here, but I mean, going on the road to play all of those teams in your first year, I think it's going to be a struggle for Old Dominion in the Sun Belt in 2022. Now, I don't do game-by-game predictions. I do a more percentage-based outlook to help me predict a team's record. So if the game is in red, I just don't see you winning the game. That Virginia game is in red, although you could put it in orange. What does orange mean? Well, it means that I still don't see you winning the game, but hey, it is college football and upsets can happen. Yellow are your 50-50 or high upset potential games. Games in yellow-green are games that you should win, but you got to watch out for teams on the other side of the ball, and games in green, I have you winning. No games in green on this Old Dominion schedule. They're going to have to fight to get any sort of wins this season. Now, I do think there are some winnable games on the schedule here. All the games highlighted in yellow, but we'll talk about those later because most of the schedule you see in orange, except for the exception that one game in red on the road at Virginia. You could put that game in orange if you really wanted. I recognize this Old Dominion team technically was a bowl team a year ago, even though they started out the season 1-6. Hey, give credit to them. They won their last 5. They fought. They made and pushed for a spot in a bowl game. But, man, it's going to be hard to replicate that this year. And if Old Dominion wants to make a bowl game, they cannot start out 1-6. Although, when you look at the schedule, starting out 1-5 is a great possibility. I mean, Virginia Tech, that's a hard game, even though it's away from Blacksburg. I've already talked about East Carolina. If you want a sleeper pick in the American Athletic, there's your team right there on the road at Virginia, who have Tony Elliott coming in as that head coach, the old offensive coordinator from Clemson. That's going to be a hard team to play. And then Liberty there as well, Coastal Carolina. Really, in my opinion, the only winnable game, the only true, real winnable game throughout the first 6 games is that game against Arkansas State. Maybe the game against Liberty. Maybe Liberty's not going to be as good off as I feel like Liberty's going to be. I feel like Liberty's going to be just fine this year. Still going to be a hard, tough football team to play. But staying at home to play Arkansas State, a team that really's got to find and get things going. I think that's going to be the game there that Old Dominion looks at in the front half of their schedule is like, okay, this is a game that we can win. They can start out 2-5 if they get that win over Georgia Southern. That's a team that's rebuilding, bringing in Clay Helton as a new head coach. And then James Madison, again, who knows what they're going to look like in their first year as an FBS program. South Alabama, kind of not necessarily the same thing. I was going to say kind of the same thing, but not really. James Madison, who knows what they're going to look like in their first year in the FBS. South Alabama, this is the team that can push for a spot in a bowl game this year. You got to go on the road to play them, although I do feel like it can be a winnable game. But when you look at this Old Dominion schedule, I mean, again, there are just tough games. You got to go on the road to play Coastal Carolina, on the road to play Georgia State, on the road to play App State. Could end up at the end of the year proving to be the 3 best teams in the Sun Belt Conference this year. Marshall not far behind there. They're following Old Dominion over from Conference USA to the Sun Belt Conference as well. So you're going to get to play Marshall this year as well, a familiar foe. You get them at home, but Marshall definitely is a better team than Old Dominion in my opinion. This is just a tough schedule for Old Dominion. If this team starts out 1-6, don't necessarily see a reason they could make a bowl game this year. There are a lot tougher games on the schedule this year, and it comes with the challenges of joining a better conference in the Sun Belt. I'm sorry, Old Dominion fans. I got you sitting here at 3-9. I like some of the talents on this team. I like Blake Watson. I like Ali Jennings. They each can have 1,000-yard seasons, again, at their respective positions. I think Hayden Wolf can be a solid enough quarterback. This is just a hard schedule in a much tougher conference. Old Dominion's got some work to do before they can really start to compete in the Sun Belt, in my opinion. But that's going to do it for the Old Dominion Monarchs, a bowl team from last year that I think will struggle in their first year in the Sun Belt. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, anything like that to help support the channel. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.